Lord Westover here to discuss the current issues facing your nation. As many of you know, I've been in delightful retirement for many years, but unfortunately, with your government shut down and all the rancorous rhetoric going on in your capital, I find it absolutely necessary to remind you American Troglodytes of the great gift you have been given in something you refer to as democracy. You see, where I am from, democracy, well, it's a quaint thing, but we all know that it really never lasts. One only needs to go back to Greco-Roman era to see how well that worked out for them. However, your founding fathers felt that you would prosper under this system, and lo and behold, for the past 200 years or so, you've absolutely managed to somewhat do that. Until now. You see, Americans, unless you go back to your roots, to what your founding fathers created for you, you are not going to sustain this thing referred to as democracy. Democracy, by its very nature, requires everyone to, of course, have their input. Now, we may not like what one is telling us at any given moment, or what they may desire or want, but ultimately, we have to come to a thing in democracy referred to as compromise. Now, in noble and royal circles, we do that quite often with one another. For instance, when one is laying out one's vast estate, one usually has to consult with their partner, whether that partner is your wife, your husband, or merely the workman. One must consult and one must compromise. For instance, I would like the entire drawing room to be done in marble. But, of course, that would look foolish, I am told, so I've agreed not to do that. This is an idea, this is something we refer to as compromise. So you see, Americans, when your particular leader, whomever it may be at the time, you seem to go through them so quickly, requests something, then the leader from the opposing side will inevitably want something as well. So it is quite simple that you take something and they take something. No, it isn't fair if one gets 90% of what they want and the other one gets 10%. No, it doesn't work that way. It's usually fair when it's a 50-50 split. Now, sometimes that can't always happen, obviously, but it should never be more than a 40-60 split. Now, this might be difficult for you to comprehend, but it is the only way you will sustain your democracy. On top of that, this should be approached with civility, with seeing the nobleness in your opponent, and perhaps thinking, maybe I may not agree with that, but maybe they may have a point, or if they're completely ridiculous, then one must acquiesce to said ridiculousness. You see, that's how it works most effectively. It may not be what is appropriate at the time, but it will form a nation and keep a government functioning.